No.
And we're recording.
Oh God, I haven't even got my camera set up yet.
It doesn't matter.
There we go. It does matter. Oh my gosh, it's like so out of balance. Am I
Oh
gonna have
yeah,
to sit here and
it's
hold
horrible.
it?
It's horrible.
Like wrong
Hey,
lean.
I always wondered too why. Hold on, let me try this. Why does Ish do his videos like this or like
I have
that
no
half
idea.
the time? Do you
I
notice
have no
that?
idea.
He's
Yeah,
never in the full frame.
never.
He's always got like I don't even know how, but he's always like got his head or like
There
he's
we
up
go.
here.
Oh yeah, every time.
Every
Every
time.
time.
I'm used to it now. I wonder if he did it on purpose.
Probably. I don't know. Probably not. Actually,
Probably
the
not.
more I speak and think
Dude,
of it.
what's going on with what's up with you went up
Uh,
north?
no, I went up north. I was trying to fit in a little bit.
Fit in.
No, yeah, you know. I've just been on the road so much, man.
I
Like
know.
I literally drove the last 2 days. I drove 27 hours. Um, and so
Why was it 27? I remember it being
because of all the traffic and everything and all the construction, it's like 23 something. But after literally every stop I had to make ended up being like 27 on the road. But I
I,
mean,
I,
and that's the thing. What people don't understand, you might throw in your map and say, okay, oh, it's a 12-hour drive.
well,
Well,
that's
you
what I
know,
was gonna say. Is that so? I remember it being 24 to Champlain, and I remember Saint Lawrence was 3 hours from there closer. So I was thinking
yeah,
it was going to be like 21,
yeah,
22.
nope. And see, the deal is that when I got south of Louisville, between Louisville and Nashville, I think, I hit some like pretty bad construction where it was like hour. The first one was an hour wait, and then the next one was like 45 minutes for a car accident. And then I got past there, and like I want to say this side of Memphis, there was another bad one that stuck me for over an hour. So it
Some
just
so
it's what it is.
I talked to my buddy Blake like 30 minutes ago. So we got this thing going on. God in the Great Outdoors over there. It's like it's north of Palestine. It's going on this weekend. So I guess I can do a little shout out to that thing. It's at uh, Rock Hill Church. I have to look.
You got to know what to shout out if you're going to shout it out
Yeah, I know.
twice.
I wasn't ready for all that. But anyways, like me and him, Blake. And
Yes.
so me and him were talking about see now I'm trying to find it. Uh maybe I can go back when I edit and go put it up there on the deal. So anyways, we're doing the guy in the great outdoors. It starts like Friday and Saturday. I think I'm doing seminars there. He's working there for Skeeter. And I don't know if I'm working with Skeeter there. I don't know. They didn't tell me much about it. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know like the
The
furthest
full
extent
extent of
of it.
what you're doing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyways, he was talking about this, and we were talking about like we got the Brandon Belt Championship coming up, uh, in on Choke, and then I was like, yeah, man, I think I got that. I got the Bassmaster Open left on Lake of the Ozarks. You'll be there. I'm thinking about like fishing the Toyota the next week because I'm already going to be up there, and then I got the
So is
Toyota
it the
Champ.
same place?
Huh?
Is it at Lake of the Ozarks as well?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Well, it's back to back, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. I'm already up there. Why wouldn't I just fish it? So, anyways, I was like going through all that stuff, and he was asking me about. I think there was some of the schedules are already starting to come out, and I was like, man, I ain't even thought about like I don't even care about next year, not in a bad way. I just don't care about the
Yeah.
schedules. And he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, same thing. He's like, same thing as you did this year, like fish what you want. I'm like, yeah, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And he was talking about like the invitationals, or the fish all 9 opens. I'm like, why do you want to fish all 9 opens? He's like, well, and I was like, look, man, you got a really good job. You get to go do what you want to do. I'm like, most of those guys, I was like, most of those guys in the invitationals. And I don't know what this isn't, but I'm like, they're not fishing. They're not fishing the invitationals to make money. What most people have a job, and that's their job, so they can fish the invitationals, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I always wanted to fish for a living, I didn't want to have. When I say I don't, there's nothing wrong with getting another job, but don't think, oh, I fish the invitationals and I do this other job on the side. But if that other job pays me more than what I'm actually doing in the invitationals, then the invitationals are not my job. Now, maybe some guys are making enough money, but I was just going, no, that means whatever it is you're doing over here, that's your job, and the invitationals is your like side hustle or whatever,
Yeah, no doubt.
or loser or whatever it is. And some guys are making money, I guess, whatever. And this isn't a knock on invitationals, but it was the same thing with the opens. Like, no, I don't know. Do they keep track of that? I would like to see like what some guys have made this year in the opens.
Oh yeah, they don't keep track of that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because the deal. Why would they promote us not making any money?
Right there, and there's some guys that have made money. Like I've
Oh
made,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
I mean, if you cash a check in every one of them, or get a couple top tens, the top 10 pays extremely well in the opens.
it. Man, I made close to 10 grand.
Yeah, you
Except
know.
Louisiana took money out for taxes before they gave it to me.
Yeah, so I mean, you make money in that situation, but when you or if you win one, obviously you're going to make some money. But the guys that are traveling day in and day out for these opens, I mean, they're not many of them are making very much money. At
Yes.
least not from the tournament itself.
St. Lawrence. I know I can ask you that. What did St. Lawrence cost you?
Oh, I have no idea yet. I hadn't put pen to paper yet.
I know. I mean, you got to guess.
I mean, the problem is I was running an hour, to an hour and 15
I
one
know.
way
I know,
every day
but
of the
that's part.
tournament.
I know, but that's part of.
Yeah,
So I don't know why I got onto this, but that was my point. Is that
yeah,
that's not your fault. You just had to do what you had to do. And so when
yeah,
someone's like, "Hey, what'd you do this week?" and I'm like, "Well," and this is part of it, right? And this is why I got onto it. It was why I asked him. And I was like, "Hey, look, man, I fished. I'm going to fish 3 opens this year. One was on Toledo, so I stayed at my buddy's house, Kelly's, free. The second one was with y'all, and that ended up being a pretty big deal. Like it was a good deal, right?
yeah,
And then the third one is at Lake of the Ozarks, but I've been to Lake of the Ozarks so much now that I got my buddy Corey that I stay with. So that one will be like I get to stay there for free. So like
yeah,
2 out of the 3 opens I stay for free. I fished the Toyotas. 2 of them were on Rayburn. Those were both free to a degree, and then the other one, I don't even know. Was it me and well, anyways, yeah. And so the other one was at Darnell. My point being to all that is that when we fish these other events, some were on Rayburn and Ray Robert. I look up and my traveling was very, very little. Half the events I stayed at this year were free because, I got to not necessarily pick my schedule, but when you start going to the same places, you start kind of figuring out little ways to you know, you got buddies, you got this, you got that. When you have all that coming together, you start finding a lot of ways to save money. And it's hard to do that when you fish the opens or invitationals because they're gonna move around. I mean, what you go to the St. Lawrence? What is that your second time there? Is that your first?
yeah. It's my second. That's my second time.
Yeah, so you don't.
But,
You're not gonna know a lot of guys, buddies up there to go.
and I still don't, unfortunately.
No, and
You know, like
you
you know,
might not.
yeah.
And
I
I
will
was
say
just
this. This is an interesting fact about St. Lawrence. Um, our neighbor came over. Her dog came over there and like got in her trash and stuff, and she came over and apologized to us while we were over there. And she made a statement, and I don't know how true it is, but I'll say it on here because I mean that's how things are spread anyway. Um, but she said that you can buy a house in Ogdensburg, which is right up the river from where we were staying, for like $50,000. And she just couldn't believe how cheap the houses, for the most part. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some $1 million, but extremely expensive places there. But she said in the town itself, you could get a house at the St. Lawrence River for $50,000. Which, I mean, when you look at property value, look at how much it costs to build a house, all that kind of stuff. Like kind of ridiculous, like where we are right now with interest rates and everything else. But the fact that you can still get a property there with a house on it
Well, okay.
for 50,000, like wow.
Okay, so when we were fishing the tour, when we went to the
Yeah.
Champlain deal, me and Russell went to Brittany and them came up. It was like the only time Brittany's ever shown up to an event ever, like travel. And then we drove to the St. Lawrence River after and went fishing. And we drove there that like in the evening time, and we found this place to stay at. And it was it was like right down, it's probably a mile or two from the river. And there was these like cabins, and you could barely like open the door because it would hit the bed. And it was
Mm-hmm.
all screened in. So there was no AC, right? Because it's kind of cool up
Yeah.
there. We stayed there for like $45. And there was these little, they weren't even like campgrounds. They were just these little bitty cabins there. And I was going, man, this is kind of, well, this is perfect. Like, what do we care? It's cheap. Let's just go fish. So we woke up and went fishing. And yeah, there are nice places there, but they're small little towns there.
Yeah, they're little villages. Like everything's a
Yeah.
little village.
So I kind of believe her that it probably wasn't that when you get into those small towns, like the same, a lot of lakes are like that, right? Where Lake of the Ozarks is not like that. Lake of the Ozarks.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't find places on Lake of the Ozarks, but most of the places on Lake of the Ozarks are like every one of them's like
Yeah.
like
High
worth
dollar.
something. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you get on certain lakes, and you would think just because they're popular and they're really, really like super nice, like it's got all those islands, all those islands have houses on them. But
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes away from the river, if it's not waterfront, they're just nice little bitty small town. Are we allowed to say small town stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know.
You like that? Yeah, come on. There's this small town little stuff. And they're nice little places, man. Like it was awesome up there. I was not but it's also New York. Like I wasn't thinking New York. I'm going to be bad about this. I was really thinking New York was going to be this horrible place, and that's New York City. But New York itself was freaking awesome.
It's amazing. I hate to say this, but I love New York. It's like one of my favorite places to go. And minus going to a big city. Like when you go around the lakes, the lake communities, whether it be Oneida or like Syracuse is like a bigger city, but it's still not like a New York City. It's
Yeah.
not a bad. I enjoyed my time when I've been in Syracuse, Cayuga, uh, Seneca. Golly, I fished most of the places up there at this point now.
You fished
Champlain,
a
literally.
lot more than me up there.
Yeah, Champlain is one of my favorite places in the world to go, or used to be. They say the largemouth population is getting back down in Ticonderoga, but for a long time it was probably like top 3 favorite places to go in the world. Like it was just, and it's just so amazing. Like the fishing is just so good. But
It's cool to go to those places because, like, where we're from, when you go to like Rayburn or Toledo or I'm sure Kentucky Lake, Gunnersville, we can go on and on about all these lakes. You go up there. I remember putting in at Champlain and Everyday Island out from where we were at, and I never saw another local boat.
Oh yeah.
You notice that, like we were there, and like you just don't see any locals anywhere. And you're going, what would this place look like if I was just up here? And sure enough, when we went to the St. Lawrence River, when we drove over there, I didn't see anybody fishing. I'm not saying it doesn't get pressure, but I
Yeah, I
didn't.
mean,
I didn't see it.
it's starting to get a lot. St. Lawrence is starting to get a lot of pressure from being the number 1 lake, and
But it's
rightfully so. I mean, it's super good. I mean, that place is just loaded with big fish. I mean, the biggest one I caught this time was like a 5.9. But I caught a lot of fish in that 4 to 5 pound range, but that was fishing the river. I say, it was still a 5.9. So I shot a TV show with Rick Harris from Strike King Lose. We went out on Lake Ontario on Wednesday on the still a practice day, technically a half
with
day.
Rick.
Yeah.
Was he fishing the open?
No, but we could go to Ontario because it was
But why was he up there?
He's guiding up there. He guides up there in the summer so he doesn't have to fish LHIV and all those places when it's 120 degrees
Are you
outside.
serious?
Yeah, dead serious. He stays up there for like a couple months at a time.
I had zero idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I called him up and I was like, hey, you want to go shoot a TV show? I said, we only got 3 hours to do it. You think we can do it? And when he's like, heck yeah. And so we ran out to what they call the Ducks. It's a set of islands, a small set of islands that like out in the middle of Ontario, and like you only go on like calm days. Like you can't. It's really hard to make it out there when it's rough. And so we run out there, and it's kind of rough going out, but dude, it's slicked off. It was dead calm coming in, but we rolled out there and we caught in just a couple hours. I mean, it was like 2.5 hours. We didn't have a bunch of fish, but I had 1 over 5. And quite a few in the 4.5, 4 3/4 range. And I mean, you just target and just scanning around, and you just seeing big ones. Like it was incredible.
Huh.
But yeah, Ontario is a special place. Like it's, they talk about the river and how great it is, and but when you get out there on that lake, it's just a whole different animal. I really enjoy the lake better than the river personally, but
I've never been out. I just fished the river, so I don't know. I don't
yeah,
think. Well, I've never been on any lake of any of the lakes, like Erie.
but
Like,
you were on. Oh, you never went to Erie whenever you were at St. Clair, just to look at it or anything.
Why?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. I
Why
guess
would I have
now
to? I'd have
I've
had to
been on
drove all the way
Huron.
through the river.
Well, you could have gone and launched down there. That's what a lot of guys do.
I just did like.
So at this point, I've been on Huron, Ontario, Erie, St. Clair, in which St. Clair is not considered a Great Lake. I don't think it is, at least. I know it's
No.
like an in between lake, but those are the ones that I've been on up there. And I mean, obviously, you still got like Michigan and some others, but it's a different world. Like, my uncle was my camera guy when we went to Ontario, and I asked him. I said, "Do you think my dad could handle this? He gets seasick," and he said, "Not a chance, not a chance." Because dude, it is like as far as you can see. You kind of like when you get on one side, you can see this like smokestack from a nuclear plant across the lake. And I don't even think it's actually across the lake. You can just kind of see like, I mean, it might even be on like the North Shore. I don't even know what part it is, but you can kind of see it out there. Dude, it's so trippy. Like you can just see forever. Like it's like being in the Gulf, honestly,
Yeah.
if I had to compare it to anything. But dude, the river was a different experience for me. I didn't even got to talk to you about what happened there. So I had the craziest boat ride of my entire life on the second day. And I mean, to the point where it was probably the scariest boat ride I've ever been on. I had my hot foot spring break. Okay. Well, in a lot of situations, if you've never driven a hot foot, you press your foot down, and as soon as you release your foot, the pedal comes back. Okay. Well, when that spring breaks, you have to pull the pedal back, and it's really
And
hard to drive
you
whenever you.
can
Huh?
pull it back.
Yeah, you can pull it back. Yeah,
there's a
there's like
metal
a arm on it,
and so you get it back here and you can pull it back like that.
but
It
it's
takes
hard to
guys
go
sometimes.
any speed other than wide open or idling because it's
Yeah,
hard to keep your
because
foot there.
yeah.
Well, okay, so here's the situation. I give myself about 35 minutes to get in, okay? And I know it's going to take about 28 to 30 minutes to get in from where I'm fishing. I start running, and we hit our first set, and it's pouring down rain. Like, I didn't realize where we were headed through was going to be raining. It's pouring down rain, and there's this big cruiser coming through, those pusher boats. And, like, it's a 40-footer. Like, it's not like a 20-foot pusher boat. It's a 40-foot, like, yacht, basically. My co-angler and I, neither one of us saw the wakes. And my spring breaks, dude, I hit the wave, I launch, I come down the next wave, and when you hit a wave, you instinctively your body pulls to the steering wheel.
What was it broke before all this?
It had just broke like literally just before that. So I knew it
Okay.
was broken. So like I knew like you got to pull back. Well, I'm only going like 63, 64, something like that. Well, we hit this wave and it pulls me to the steering wheel, and I can't pull it back. So I'm still floored, and I hit the next wave and the next wave, and then finally get the thing back, and we land. And the guy looks at me, he's wide-eyed, and I'm wide-eyed. I'm like, "Are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "Are you good?" He's like, "I never saw those waves," and neither one of us ever saw them. Like
Right.
literally, like they were level with the water, and it just fell off. And we kept going again, and I look up through the rain, and I see like a ship coming my way, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, this ain't good." And I'm starting feeling, or he's going away from us, and I can feel the waves start hit, the waves that go behind the
Mm-hmm.
ships,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so hard to control because I'm sitting here with no spring, and I'm like, this is not a good situation.
Right.
Well, then we hit the side wakes, and I look up, and there's another one coming, and their waves hit, and dude, it was the biggest waves and going in every single direction that I've ever seen on a body of water. Like, we get to the bridge at Ogdensburg, and we've got like 18 minutes. So it takes me 17 minutes to go about 4 miles when it's all said and done, which is a lot of time. I
Did you
mean,
have it videoed?
I didn't because we had a bunch of storms. I wish so
Oh
badly
yeah,
I
yeah, because
did.
of rain. Because of
Yeah,
rain.
and I didn't want to ruin a camera. So I look over at my co-angler, and he's like, "Man," he's like, "I don't know what to." I'm like, "Dude, we're not gonna make it back in time. I'm just telling you right now, it ain't gonna happen." Just, I mean, like, if we have anything else happen, we're not making it. And I start running, and luckily we're going with the current, so I'm going like 78, 77, 78. We hit one more set of wakes. I see it coming though, thankfully. And we hit one more set of wakes that slow us down to about 30, 40 miles an hour. We get through those. We make it back with less than 2 minutes left. I do not know how we made it back. I would have bet money we were going to be 2 minutes late. Like, but it was just one of those like bad situations, like super. And I told him, I apologized when we get there. I said, "Man, like, I'm so sorry. There's literally only so much I can do when that spring breaks. It's either floor it and work
Yeah,
everything with the trim, or you're idling.
yeah.
Like, I can't do
No,
much."
yeah, it's a weird deal because you don't think about it because you're so used to the spring being there that you don't realize that if the spring's not there, it just flops around.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, I had somebody say, "Well, would you not have your spare spring?" I said, "No, I didn't have my spare spring. My spare spring was in my truck." Like, like it's always
Yeah,
that
yeah.
question. What did you not have
I
a like? I'm just like, yeah, of course I had it. I just decided I thought it was a good idea
There's
not
a
to put it
lot of
on.
things that, of course, I wish I had. There's times I don't have spare props and spare. Like, I mean, you know, and
I
the
mean, you
bad.
can only bring so much
I
when you
know.
go to, like. But it worked out. We made it back. It was sketchy. I've been in worse situations probably, but it was a scary situation. Just because the low visibility, giant rollers. I mean, they weren't waves. Like, it's not
Was
like the
this on day
traditional
two?
like wind wave. Yes.
Oh, so
And so
this
I
is
had
the
a
day.
bag.
This is when you
Yeah,
caught them and moved
yeah.
all and
I say I
moved
had a
up.
bag. I mean, I had 19 pounds, but
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me that day it was serious points, and it was just a different deal. But
yeah.
yeah,
19 pounds.
I will say this, man. I probably haven't ever been so mad with almost 17 pounds than I was on day one. I was furious with 17 pounds. And how often can you say, "Man, like, that's a terrible day when I go catch 17?" But I was mad because I really thought I could catch more than that. But, it's just how it goes sometimes. But, uh, yeah, it's a really trippy place when you go out there and you're fishing a tournament, and you're catching them and you're not catching the right quality, and you're like, "I'm getting my brains beat in right now. There's too many 4 and 5 pounders on this place.
What
You got to go catch them."
I texted Jody, congrats.
Hmm.
And I find this kind of funny. Just being around um s- I would say sponsors a lot. And I hope I'm not telling on people. We've had meetings before where I've been with a group of guys. like big name guys, right? I'm not going to name drop because I don't think they'd appreciate it. And I don't know who it was. I just know that I've been in big groups with a bunch of big names, and there'll be a meeting, and they'll be like, they'll kind of get in trouble a little bit. Like guys will be like, hey, y'all need to do a lot better job of like calling these guys reporters back and things like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
and I'm sure everyone knows, like you text somebody, that you kind of know, like, hey, good job. You might, and they just want to turn it. All right. A lot's going on. So I don't care. I'm just saying I just know that you get that a lot from especially reporters and all these guys. And Jody White, his first job is a reporter for an MLF, right?
Yeah.
And so I text him, and like within an hour or something, I don't even know if it was that long, maybe 30 minutes. He's like, hey, thanks, man. And I wanted to be like, oh, look at you. I might have. I can't even remember what I said, but I was like, look at you getting back in time, because he's going to. I mean, for all the times that people probably didn't respond back to him, like, hey, can we do this interview or can we do this stuff? I was like, look at him. He's going to make sure he's going to text back everyone really quick.
Well,
But
it's a huge. I'm not going to discredit. I mean, what he accomplished was a huge deal beyond just the fact of winning an Open, which are really,
I,
really hard to
I don't
win.
even consider it winning the Open. It's that he beat Corey
I
on the
know.
final
That's what
day.
I was going to say. It's like you beat a Johnston at the St. Lawrence River. Like that's extremely impressive. Like
No
that dude.
one,
No.
and sorry, Jody, any one of us in that situation, like you got elite guys fishing against him, and if he was in the lead, they're like, man, this is Corey's to win. Like
Yep.
he's going to get picked over everyone else in that situation.
Oh, 100%. And I thought it was pretty spectacular. We've known Jody for a really long time, and it's funny you say that because I commented on his Instagram, and I didn't expect to get anything back. Like I just wanted to tell him congrats because I just think it's such a awesome deal that he was able to pull out a win in that situation. Because he was the odds were stacked against him. I
Yeah.
mean, so and he responded. I mean, it was like 20 minutes later, he responded back, and I'm like, look at old Jody being all prompt and
I
stuff. Like,
know. Well, like
I
I
couldn't
said,
believe
man,
it.
I've been in I'm friends with a lot of the guys who do a lot of that stuff. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I know the guys that don't respond back. I know the guys that they deal with. I know the unprofessionalism within the sport. So I know the people who don't. So like, and they're those, and I'll never forget the first meeting I was sitting in. I was in this group one time, and and the boss man was kind of pretty much saying all this, and I was looking around going, it floored me because we were just, when you're a little guy, dude, someone asked for something like that to do an interview or something, like I don't know. Me and you've never talked about this ever before. Like we never even
No.
had this conversation off air. So like but I'm guaranteeing that like you get back with them, like you've never made them wait.
No. No.
Right. And neither have I. And I was sitting there going, wait a minute. And I was sitting there in this room, like looking around, going, like, hey guys, I get it. Y'all, you just did this, you just did that. But waiting 2, 3, 4 days to get back with these guys. And I'm sitting here looking around going, what? What do you mean? Like these guys, they're making them wait? And I was sitting there like looking around going, y'all make these guys wait? Like your whole job, I thought within being a professional fisherman, and catching them here, and like, isn't half your job like doing these interviews and like representing your sponsors well and this and that? And I'm sitting here going, well, God, I'll never get looking around going, like, what are they talking about? And I'm like, man, I got real like quiet. I'm like, I'm glad they ain't talking to me, because I was like, I know I don't have, like, I'm jumping at the bit to do an interview. When I was younger, and still to this day, like I would never leave someone hanging like that. And they're
Well,
like, oh yeah,
unfortunately, I've been in the shoes of the marketing director and pro staff directors for these companies, and had to have those conversations with pro anglers. And I won't mention any names, but I've had to have those conversations quite a few times, and it baffles me that, like what you say, I mean, your job as a professional angler is A, to go catch fish, B, to promote whatever company that you're representing, and C, to be professional on and off the water. And to me, professionalism, that's kind of goes along with everything. Like if I have a reporter from Bass contact me and say, "Hey, we want to do this video or this interview, whatever," I'm looking at my schedule, and if I don't answer, I'm texting them back saying, "Hey, Mark Hicks," which is my father-in-law. "Hey, Mark, I can't do it right now, but I have tomorrow at 2 p.m. open. Like, do you want to do it then?" And he's like, "Perfect," and we're good to go. I don't. There's a lot of laziness, and it's not even just older pros; it's younger pros too. It's a lot of laziness and thinking they're too good for an interview. I know when I won my first event at Cherokee, I think I did like 4 or 5 radio shows or like podcasts that I bet there wasn't 10 people listening on. Like it was like the
Yeah.
tiniest little, but I didn't care. Like I'm going to do everything I possibly can to promote myself, my sponsors, the win, everything that was going on, because those moments might only come around. Like for me, I've only won 2 big tournaments. That's it. That's all I've ever won.
Yeah. The
And
the interview. Well, that's what I was saying is like the interviews over the phone are no big deal. Like I can understand the podcast thing because
you'll get hit up with a ton of them.
well, yeah, but what I'll say about podcasts, like what we're doing right here,
Yeah,
there's a big difference between this and over the phone. Like I can do an over the phone in my truck somewhere, right? Like
absolutely.
that's not a
Yeah,
big deal. But even me and you, even when we do our Bass Open fantasy picks and stuff, you got to coordinate 4 guys to get. I mean, I'm on my computer. You're like we have to coordinate that to where we're all in a setting where we have service,
yep,
where it's not loud, things like that. So there's some coordination there. But like if someone was like, "Hey, can you do an interview?" I might be out of town driving somewhere. Like, yeah, call me up, man. I'm on
yeah,
the road. There's a difference, but and that's where it was. We weren't in back when I heard all this stuff. It wasn't like guys were asking you to get on air and do
Mm-mm.
something because podcasts, and most podcast people know that like, hey, try to give some guy a week or something to kind of like figure out that time. But we were just talking about like interviews, like on the phone type deal.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and that's what I mean for the most part. Like, and even in some situations, turn on your computer and do a live stream for 15 minutes, or whatever it may be, but not to the extent of having to drive to Birmingham and doing an interview. Like they're not asking for a whole heck of a lot
And,
here. Like,
it's usually like 5 to 10. Their interviews
yeah.
might be, 10 minutes at the most.
Well, when I won Cherokee, there was about 2 days that I had 2 solid days of whether it be interviews or radio shows or whatever it was. And it was like straight up booked for 2 days. And then I'd have like some sporadic ones after that. So I mean it was a lot of stuff in that short amount of time. But that was part of what made FLW at the time great, is they sent out all this stuff and they helped get all this publicity to it. And like Jody and some of the other Niedermeyer and some of the other guys like Patterson Leith when he was there. I mean, that was the old FLW that I really enjoyed a lot and
Yeah.
how they used to operate. And so,
I don't know if your
um,
service is bad.
I mean, it's not great. I'm in East Texas, homie.
All right, look, we ain't got much time.
No.
Real quick, Icast.
Oh, I was going to talk something else, but we can talk
Oh,
Icast, I
go,
guess.
go, go, go.
So this week, Friday, I don't know when this is going to air, but Friday, Todd's son Michael and my son Kane are
Oh,
running on their mile relay at the state championship at
Brownsville.
Brownsville, Texas. Yeah. Kane and Val and I are going to go down on Wednesday. Kind of
So is
spend a few
Brittany.
days. Yeah. Oh, is Brittany going?
Well, oh yeah. So the deal was is since I had this other thing that I've already
Yeah.
the guy on the ground outdoors that I planned months ago. This was before Michael even started running track with Kane and all that and
Yeah.
all this whole thing got started. Um, my daughter was gonna. They had this like for their whole soccer deal to make this classic deal. They had this giant tournament they had to make. So she had to take, and my wife's the strength coach for the team, and Michaela had to go, whatever. So she was always going to go there. Well, they ended up making classic anyways, and so now Brittany's going, which I'm thankful for because I mean Michael's 8, but I mean, and he's doing he's going to be a lot more comfortable that Brittany's going. Me or
Oh yeah.
her would be more comfortable. I don't think he's going to get nervous, but just my wife's really into the details. But he's going to go run the 800 because she was like, "Do you still want to run the 800?" I'm like, "Yeah, let him get a race already. It's the day before. It's not going to hurt him for the
Yeah.
4x4." So because he qualified for the 800 as well. So yeah, I think they're going down Wednesday. I think he runs on Thursday for the 800.
Yeah, and then
I'm
then all
glad.
the kids run Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, but now he'll already have a race because that'll be a big advantage for him to already have a race underneath his belt.
But it's super cool because we got into the track thing last year and we just kind of just realized what was going on, ran a regional, and ran one other track meet. Didn't really practice, weren't part of a club. And we joined PTX, which is Piney Woods, Texas, out of Hudson. And we've run quite a few track meets this year. And it's been really awesome. You talk about select sports, whether it be soccer or baseball or football or all these things. I'm going to tell you, you want to start seeing some athletes, go to one of these track meets. Oh my gosh. You're talking the fastest kids in the state of Texas. And, This is the same state that an Adrian Peterson comes from, a Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you're talking superior athletes. And this is where you start seeing them is at this, at this state track meet. I know it's only 8 years old and people are going to be like, these kids are running in the 10U division. So they're both Michael and Kane are 8. We have a 9-year-old in Jalen and an 8-year-old in DJ. I mean, we are one of the youngest teams, but we have one of the fastest times in the state of Texas right now.
Yeah.
At the 4x4. So it's really awesome. And I was like one of the little assistant coaches this year. So I got to be at most everything. I missed one track meet. Todd was at it though. And I wouldn't even really consider that a track meet. It was more like a warm up, if anything.
It was a warm up.
Yeah, the kids ran a bunch of stuff.
And your son's super fast. Michael, when we got into it, he wasn't even thinking about the 4x4, and then some things happened. But yeah, and so Michael was kind of the last man to join up.
Mm-hmm.
And really wasn't even thinking about the 400, but we've been working with them, and every week, I'm not going to get into it, but me and Andrew were like, okay, if we can just get Michael down to this time by state, and he pretty much already got there 2 weeks ago. He already got to the time that we wanted him to get to. So, and he played a soccer tournament on the sand this week. I mean, he's been running a lot lately. So we've got him down. So they got a good chance to go. But then what's crazy is I leave Monday when we get back, or when they get back and I get back from all this, I leave Monday for Iowa for Junior Olympics in track, which that's a whole nother story. I got in this track thing. We tell everyone, and I'm like, I got in this track thing in the summertime, 100% because of you posting their videos on Facebook. And I'm like, what's this track thing? And then next thing I know, I'm like, well, I know they're playing a lot of soccer and all this stuff. I'm like, well, let me see if I can just show up for a practice or two. I knew the coach already, and give him something to kind of do a little bit. And then all of a sudden it's turned into this other deal, which has been pretty cool. But yeah, we go. I can't be there. I'm going to miss a 4x4, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to get the full detail from Andrew the entire time I'm there.
Oh yeah,
doing this.
And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be, even if they get last place, the fact that the kids made it there, they're 8, and we understand that. We pushed them just to the point of where we feel like they can handle it, and there's not a better sport for a kid than getting into track, in my opinion.
They're not going to get killed. Their times are good.
No,
there's
their
a reason
times are too good.
Yeah. There's a reason we qualified for state. We got a pretty good time.
Yeah. It's a lot's going to depend, and like you said, you never expected Michael to run 400. Kane has been a 100 and 200 runner for the last 2 years, and now he's one of our best 400 runners. And I never ever expected him to be a 400 runner. I always expected him to be a sprinter, and because that's what he enjoys, that's what he's passionate about. Like, and he doesn't really like the 400 that much, but he does it. And I try to get him to run the 800 like Michael, and that's just not going to happen. I don't
Well,
think,
here's what's
unfortunately.
well, we just put Michael in an event just like what's the shortest event that he won't get killed in because like he had never practiced or done any of it.
Yeah.
And so when we put him in there and he freaking killed it, and I was like, I don't even think this kid knows what he's doing half the time. But it's so funny because our kids run the 400 the exact opposite. Because if you let him go, Kane would run the first 200 about as fast as possible because he's just super fast. Michael's going to run it about as slow as possible, and then Kane's still got a, but like Michael sprints the last 200. Like it's so funny because I'm like, I stopped worrying about it. But they still run pretty like all their
Yeah.
times are good. It's pretty funny how they run differently, but they don't know any different. They're just out
No,
there.
yeah. No, it's awesome to watch, and hopefully they have a good track meet. I'm excited about it. I
Yeah.
honestly, that's why I drove in over the weekend so I could be at practice today and tomorrow, and so yeah, I'm all track this week. That is my job this week, is to make sure Kane is ready for his track meet. So
I don't know if
um,
Michael will be at practice because he just spent 2 days in the sand running all out in the sand. Like
I'll be all right.
oh yeah, he's been getting some work in. All right. I'm not gonna get into Icast.
No, we'll do that on the next one.
Oh well, give him a teaser.
What do you mean
Okay.
talk about?
Our view of Icast
Oh,
has
mine is so
changed.
changed. Mine is so changed. Like, different. I don't know, man. I think we're getting old. I think that's part of the problem.
No, because this is too many people are saying the same. Icast has changed. It was a different feel this year because they wouldn't allow social media slash they cut it down. It was more exclusive this year for Icast on who they let in. So
It was still
it didn't look
busy
like they
though. It was still.
huh?
I thought it was still pretty busy.
It was busy, but it wasn't as busy as it has been. But like I said, I mean, I think a lot of that is like was a fake busy
Yeah.
from years past. They let people in that didn't really have. And when I say credentials, don't think it's like you have to be important. That's not what we're saying.
No.
But they tried to limit some guy. Just they tried to. It's not supposed to be for the public. Um, it's
It's
they have
become
an
that though.
idea.
Unfortunately,
Do what?
it's become that basically, or it has been in the past.
It
It's
has been in the
basically been.
past, and
I mean, it's
it
not supposed to be, but anybody with a YouTube channel could basically get
right.
in if they wanted to.
And I'm not saying it shouldn't be for the public. Like that's the thing is that like if they open this up to straight public, you probably wouldn't be able to walk around in there.
Oh, 100% you wouldn't. But
And I'm
there
not
also
because
wouldn't
I'm
be a
not
lot
saying
of
it's a
things
bad
get
thing.
done.
Yeah,
No,
like it would.
it'd be a bad thing because there's a
Well,
lot
I'm
of
saying the
meetings that go
public would
on.
love it though.
Oh, the public would eat it up. Honestly, if they wanted to make it better, they should, for the first 2 days of the event, have it
Ooh,
open just to that, and then the last 2 days of the event or last day of the event, open it to the public.
wait a minute, man. Then you're gonna have to make us work. It's too many days. Uh-uh.
Well,
Uh-uh.
just have it 2 days of work, like where we're actually working with sponsors, and then the last day just let everybody in. Have all your meetings done by Friday, and just let them all come. Dude, it would be awesome. Like, it'd be the busiest iCast
Yeah,
ever.
it would be.
But you'd have to have like so many people watching things just to make sure things didn't get snatched. All these
Oh
new
yeah.
baits and stuff.
Well, because it is pretty like open with the fact of how like nothing usually ever gets taken. Nothing. I mean,
No,
it's pretty cool that way. But
the classic last year there was or this past, like when the one Gussie won, they set up their booth. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Evergreen or one of them set up and they had their whole booth. Somebody stole every bait out of their booth after the setup, like everything. And they had to, before the classic started, they had to ship in all brand new stuff
God,
because they got everything stolen. That's a very rare, like super
very
rare thing. But it you know, it's sad world we live in these days. Just let's just take it. You don't have to pay for it.
Icast this year was
Mediocre at best.
well that and well the problem is it's become well, I'll say for this thing from the lure standpoint side, from the lures, like leave the drama of all the stuff that goes on at iCast out, but like the lure stuff, the only thing that I'm having an issue with is the man. There's nothing new. There's nothing ever new at iCast. Everything's copied. All these different things. I'm not going to go into because I'm sure if just by me saying that there's going to be 50,000 things about who copied who and this and that, and I'm going, hey, if you make a new crankbait, chances are it's going to look like a different crank. Like it's very hard. Like these expectations that people have that there's going to be 10 new baits that look like no other baits that have ever been existed is never going to happen. So like people need to get that through their head that is not like it's impossible to almost do that anymore. I will say some baits do get there are things getting copied and this and that and all this stuff. And I don't know what people want. I mean, it's never going like it's been going on for 20 years and it's going to continue to grow. I mean, I even had someone call us out on the gravel dog, and I'm like, wait a minute. I took two. Oh, where'd he go? I was like, I took two different baits that existing from Strike King and put them together, and I still had someone call us out that it was like a copy, and I'm like, copy? I basically freaking cut apart two baits and glued it to other of the same of Strike King, and I'm like, that's hilarious.
And change the bill angle. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I know what two baits you did. I mean,
Yeah,
but
well, I
it's the
told
fact.
everyone. Like, well, I started telling the story. I let the story out. I mean, I still have the prototypes of like doing. I have videos of me doing it, but it was just funny that even that I'm like, well, golly, now I can't even take my own our existing baits and do that. But yeah, it was pretty. I know there's some things that are getting copied and stuff like that. They do have a very iCast though. Like best of show and best of iCast is can we say this publicly? Is a little overrated.
Well, it's always been overrated though. Like
Well, yeah,
that's
but
the
I don't know
thing
if
that's so
people.
funny. I mean, I've seen like
I don't know if
frog
people realize
poppers
that
win.
though.
Well,
Huh?
yeah, no, I'll tell you why they realize it. I'm not going to call any bait out here, but there's been some baits that have won past iCast. You know, best
Yeah.
of show, soft lure, hard lure, whatever. That they vote on to win, whether it be super realistic looking, whatever it may be. And then it goes to Bass Pro, it goes to Academy, it goes to these stores, and it never sells
Ever.
because the general public's smart enough to know that that's bull crap.
Who
And
do we know who votes on this?
there is a list of people. It's like you got like editors of magazines and all these different things. I mean, it's basically public, like all these different people in the industry, and it's just a feather in the cap. Let's be honest. Like, it's not about sales. You're going to get some placement on an iCast Best of Show product at like an end cap at Bass Pro or Academy. You will probably. But they also know that they're only going to order limited quantities because they're probably not going to sell. This
Is there?
year, I think what Z-Man won with their chatterbait, and I think that one's going to sell pretty good because it's basically the jackhammer knockoff for $9 instead of 17.
It's a chatterbait too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
No,
they
I mean
took the
a
best
chatterbait's gonna
features out of
sell.
a jackhammer, and it's going to
Yeah.
sell. Like
I,
but now normal case situation, they best of show typically isn't just this big
yeah,
sellout
but
like
golly, so
crazy thing.
why didn't anyone ever do anything about like I'll read the first ones to ever talk about it. Why?
No. There's a lot of people talk about it. And it's funny, like I actually talked to somebody in the industry, and they were a little frustrated that they didn't win, and it wasn't even you; it was somebody else. And I'm like,
Me?
I said it wasn't you,
Well, of course
dude.
not. I knew this. I knew this years ago that like when I first got with Strike King, I'm like, "Hey, are we going to this best?" He goes, "No, nah, we don't even show up for it." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Man, we got to enter something that actually matter, this and that." He goes, "Man, we never win." I'm like, "What about when this?" He's like, "Look, man, once we realize we know what this is a long time ago, it's irrelevant." And so I was like, "Here we are. Companies really could care less about this
Oh
because
yeah,
they know it was such a joke." And I'm not saying it's a joke when you win it, because sometimes they do get things right, but it somewhere along the way, it'd be nice if they actually made the biggest fishing show in the like, that happens, and they have best of show that it actually meant something like that, that people actually agreed with this, where it wasn't a
oh
money
yeah.
deal.
It wasn't the money. It wasn't how much you advertised. It wasn't how much you know, played your cards right. It was because it was better than everything
Right.
else. But hey, we're gonna get back into this again. I know we will. But I've got to roll.
Yeah, I do too. Let's roll. Let's talk
So,
about ICAST. We'll talk about ICAST later.
all right, man. Well, hey, I will see you here in a little while.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching.
See ya.